On today's Newsmakers, we're talking with Prisha Mosley, who shares her detransition journey. She says there was false hope, lies, and chaos in the mix, and she has a warning for others who might find themselves in the same position. With no further ado, here is Prisha. You have had a journey that you've been very open about as a detransitioner, speaking out on social media, sharing. Before we get into your story, what has it been like being so open and vulnerable about so many personal details of your story?
Yeah, thank you for having me and thank you for being a part of allowing me to share my story. It's important to me to be able to share the truth because there wasn't anyone doing what I'm doing and what other detransitioners are doing now, speaking out and telling the truth. There really was no one to let us know that it was a lie and a scam when I was going through this. So I really feel like I'm helping people, and I've been able to make a lot of connections with other detransitioners as well as parents of people who are identified as trans who just want the best health and outcomes for their children. So yeah, I've met a lot of meaningful people, and it's important to me.
Well, and I like to ask that question because I think it gives people a chance to understand the heart behind why you are speaking out and sharing what you are. And you said not a lot of people were doing this, and that is true. In fact, a lot of people don't even know what detransitioner means, even now, even though you guys are speaking out, they don't understand because of the way that culture has handled this issue. Let's sort of backtrack in your life. When did you first start experiencing issues with gender identity in your life?
I guess I was about 15 years old and I discovered the trans community online. I was in a community, a pro Ana community actually, where all of us were encouraging each other to not eat because we thought that would solve our problems. And eventually it just evolved into, with the help of trans activists, the idea that we were born in entirely the wrong body and needed medicine for it. I was 15 when that started, and medicalization began at 16 with Depo-Provera to stop my periods, and then testosterone at 17. And then just a year later at 18, I had both of my breasts removed.
So this happened very quickly. How were people around you responding to that? Friends, loved ones, relatives? What was sort of the reaction around you as this was going on?
I mean, there was a lot of chaos in my life. I was dealing with trauma at the time, and there was turmoil in my home. So, I mean, the doctors that did this to me really found me and my family when we were vulnerable and we needed help. So, I mean, it was panic. It was, I don't know what to do. I want my child to be okay and stop being suicidal, and we need help. And the desperation of my parents was totally preyed upon. They were blackmailed and all of that, but no one really knew what was going on or what to do.
So you're going through this journey, obviously, to help put people, and I don't want to speak for you, so correct anything that I'm saying that you feel is incorrect or wrong. You're going through this journey, you're struggling, you're looking for solace, for peace, for some exit from the way you were feeling, and you're going through these procedures that are very serious, whether it's the medical, the medicine piece of it, stopping your period, or going through actual surgeries. When you were going through all of this, were you getting any relief? Were you feeling better? What was it that sort of initially kept you moving in that process?
I mean, my doctors gave me a lot of false hope. I really, really, truly thought that I was going to transition into a man, like have a full sex change, and that all of my trauma would be gone and my mental struggles and illnesses would be cured by this. I thought that all of the problems I had were caused by being born in the wrong body. And I derived a lot of hope from the idea that these problems had a quick fix and a cure, that I could just take medicine and have surgery, and then everything in my life and my family would be okay. And on top of that, testosterone is an anabolic steroid, and I was very depressed and then I was given steroids. So I experienced an increase in energy and motivation and confidence, but that also came with dangerous recklessness and all of the physical side effects that also accompanied the testosterone, like PCOS and pre-diabetes and all of that. But none of these medical conditions that were starting to occur as a result of the testosterone were ever taken seriously or even mentioned or looked at. It wasn't until detransitioning years later and being like, wow, I'm not a man, I'm in the unhealthy body of a woman, did I began to even get help for these issues.
So that's interesting because what you're referring to there is having these underlying issues, right? Emotional, you're having these mental health struggles, and you felt like those things were not being treated while they were sort of treating the gender issue, but nobody seemed focused on maybe the underlying issues. That would be an accurate assessment of what you're saying there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as soon as I said the word gender, all medical ethics just went to the side, and I was being fast tracked down like a pipeline of gender medicine. Just, they say gender affirming care is life saving care, and they act like it's so vital and just rush you down the pathway and change your body. And it's like we were in a crisis.
Yeah, yeah, and you're being ushered and pushed. And in talking to a lot of detransitioners, it's a very similar experience that I've heard from others. Now, when okay, so at 18, you have the surgery that you mentioned. How long was it that you attempted to live as a man? How many years went by in this process?
I was on testosterone for 7 or 8 years and living that way, just fully dissociated from myself and depersonalized and not living in reality. I spent a number of years as an adult, not really functioning as an adult. I had a partner who took care of me and uh, made my doctor's appointments for me and stuff. And I really wasn't functioning or thriving in any way, which is true of a lot of people who are trans identified. There's no focus on having a good or healthy or whole life or being able to have healthy relationships or a career or anything like that. The entire goal is that the patient doesn't kill themselves and everything else goes to the wayside.
So yeah, that is interesting on so many levels, and also heartbreaking to hear you say that. So that's a lot of years to go in this process. And it's interesting. A lot of the people I've talked to, they've gone 7 to 10 years. That's sort of been the time range. That's a big chunk of life. What was it that brought you to the point of saying, not only is this not the path I need to be on, but I'm going to try to go back and detransition, because you had had surgery, you had done some of these things. I mean, these are big decisions. What made you change your mind?
So actually, my boyfriend, he has a daughter, and she was about 2 at the time. And after becoming in a relationship with him and getting closer, being able to see her, I started babysitting her and watching her all the time. And she does not have a relationship with her biological mother. She just wasn't interested. And I was still trans identifying at the time, and I had facial hair and I was wearing masculine clothes. But despite all of that, she started calling me mommy, and it just broke me out of the delusion. I mean, I thought it sounded so right, and it felt so right, and it felt so true. And yeah, luckily it just happened to me at a time that it brought clarity and understanding rather than turmoil and fear, and I was able to break free.
In breaking free, what did that process look like? Because you mentioned, I mean, facial hair and these decisions that you made to change. Now you have to, as much as you're comfortable sharing, now you have to go back. I mean, how difficult? It sounds like emotionally it wasn't so difficult because something like you said snapped you out of it. But what was the actual process you had to go through to correct what had happened?
Well, I mean, gender affirming care, as they call it, the wrong sex hormones and surgery, they're irreversible. Detransitioning really just means that you stop making it worse. There's no way to go back. I will never have my breasts again or my original body. I've done some laser hair removal, but hair still grows. And doctors don't cover that. There's no way to make it like my body was never changed with testosterone. My endocrine system is never going to function again. I will never not have to take um, exogenous hormones ever again. So I'm always going to be dependent on doctors in the pharmacy and dealing with side effects. I'll never be able to breastfeed. My body parts aren't going to grow back. The time I lost is never going to come back. So really, detransitioning is just when you stop making it worse.
Wow. I mean, that is difficult to hear, especially because a lot of other people are in the midst of where you used to be right now, and maybe even starting on that journey, and they're being pushed on that journey. How long did it take you to feel like you were as close to your old self as you could be? How long was that process for you?
I mean, I still don't feel like my old self. I have finally found a doctor who's willing and able to work with me and has put me on bioidentical estrogen and progesterone and other medicine to deal with the insulin resistance and the PCOS and the prediabetes and the Hashimoto's too, all a result of taking testosterone. And I have lost a lot of weight, which makes me feel better from fixing the diabetes issues. And I have some less cysts on my ovaries, so I'm in less pain and things like that. But I mean, I don't sound like myself when I talk. It's a different voice in my head. And when music comes on the radio, I have like muscle memory and I know what it's supposed to sound like. And I can't sing. And it doesn't sound like me when I speak. And speaking for long periods hurts my throat. Um, and I have a lot of chronic pain and I look different. I don't look like my mother and my sister anymore or anyone. I look like someone who was experimented on. And that's a really huge loss. But I mean, I've been able to rebuild things, but you can't really go back, and they change everything, these doctors.
I so admire your willingness to speak on this because it's not easy. It's not easy to share and to be so open and, you know, talk about on a positive side how your life has changed, where you are now, the things that have happened in your life since making that decision to detransition.
Yeah, I'm still in a relationship with that man who's very wonderful, and his daughter, she is 5 now. She's going to turn 6 in not too long, and is still calling me mommy, and that's wonderful. It's just a lot better and more freeing to live in reality. I'm not in a constant fight against reality and biology anymore, which is exhausting and demoralizing and devastating. I don't worry about what people think about me so much, and that's a healthier way to live. I have worked on having an internal locus of control rather than an external one, and that's eliminated the need for constant affirmation and validation from other people. Advocacy has been really good for me. I really like being able to help other people. I've met other detransitioners who are in similar positions and who understand. I have recently had a baby. He's going to be 11 months old soon, and that's been an incredible journey. I mean, motherhood is truly healing, and I'm grateful for motherhood because it's something good about being a woman. When I came from a place where I thought that womanhood was scary and bad and dangerous, and now I think it's a beautiful gift.
Did you have fears about motherhood in light of everything you've gone through physically as a result of this in terms of, you know, being able to have a baby, to bring a baby forward in light of being in the middle of all this? I would imagine there were complexities or worries there even perhaps.
Yeah, I struggled with infertility for a couple years after the testosterone, and while I was on it, um, and I actually couldn't fix my fertility until I got on birth control and then got pregnant by accident that way, because of the estrogen and progesterone in the birth control. We were trying to fix my hormones and it caused pregnancy unexpectedly. And I was really grateful, but I was really terrified. It was a very high risk pregnancy. I got gestational diabetes. I had a lot of pain and I wasn't even able to deliver naturally because of the pelvic and vaginal atrophy because of the testosterone. And that was really, really difficult and, made me sad. I didn't want to have another surgery so soon. It was scary to be like, oh, you're having surgery in 9 months, after such a traumatic experience and um, difficult relationships with doctors and my ability to trust them. But luckily, my midwife was very nice and I trusted her, and the surgery went all right. And a healthy baby was born 8 days early.
Well, I so appreciate you sharing that. And I know that these questions they can feel invasive, but I wanted to ask you that because I think helping people understand the impact of taking, the testosterone, the drugs that you were taking, knowing that there is an effect. It's talked about as though there's not an effect. It's like, oh, this is no big deal, right? I mean, would you say that's accurate? I feel like it's sort of thrown out there as just no biggie whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, everything they say about it is a lie. It doesn't change your sex. You're not aligning yourself with the male hormone. You're becoming a hormonally imbalanced female. And then you're going to suffer brand new consequences as a result of it, not to mention the result of not dealing with the issues that caused you to want to take it in the first place. It's just a complete mess.
One final question for you before we go. Has this impacted the way you look at, faith? Because a lot of people, and I don't know what your journey has been, they come out of this and they find faith or they have a new view on faith. I was just curious where maybe you are on those particular issues.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I actually see trans ideology as sort of like a tantrum against Christianity. It's like the idea that you can uncreate and recreate your body in your own image. I also view it as sort of a form of Gnosticism, like the idea that the flesh is evil, the flesh is material and bad, my breasts are causing my suffering, and therefore I have to remove them and then I will find peace. And I think all of that leads to emptiness. But having a sincere relationship with God is something different. It's not a chase, you know what I mean? It's actual peace that doesn't come at the price of your health and body parts.
Do you feel like you've found that in your journey? Is it a journey you're on still?
Yeah, I don't do a lot of organized religion, and I'd like to maybe go to a church in the future, but I'm still doing the personal relationship thing with God, you know. A lot of this, I'll be honest, my parents were very, very Christian and conservative growing up, Calvinists in specific, and a lot of the things with organized religion, like purity culture and girls have to look like this and be like this and do like this, made me want to be a boy. I'll be honest, you know. So I apologize.
Oh, you're fine.
Sorry. But yeah, I think the church has to be careful with how we treat children. I mean, when you're a 14-year-old little girl, it's normal not to want to wipe butts. You know, don't talk to the little girl about how motherhood is the most wonderful journey in the world and all of that. She's not ready for it. It's okay for little girls to want to be like little boys. You know what I mean? It just doesn't mean they're born in the wrong body. And, you know, if you are too strict and stuff like that with a girl who is gender nonconforming, she will run into the open and waiting arms of the doctors who are going to affirm and say she feels that way because she's a boy.
Okay, and I lied because I do have one more question for you. What you are involved in a lawsuit right now. Before we go, can you explain why you are suing and what you are hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, I'm suing my doctors. I unfortunately, due to the statute of limitations, I was not able to sue them for medical malpractice, even though that's what took place. But it takes so long to realize the harm and to deprogram and come out of it and be able to accept that you were wrong and that a sex change didn't take place and you're worse off. And then to find lawyers and all of that. By the time that time had happened, statute of limitation had passed. However, I am able to sue them on charges for fraud because I really believed that I was going to turn into a boy and that this would fix my mental health, and that's just not true. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to find justice and peace and make a difference for other people, encourage them to hold their doctors accountable too, and also hopefully make doctors think twice before recklessly administering surgery and hormones to young people who don't need it and are healthy.
Well, I so appreciate you taking the time, sharing very candidly your journey, and we'll continue to follow with you as that lawsuit unfolds. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
That's all for today's Newsmakers. Make sure you head on over to the CBN News YouTube channel and cbnnews.com for more of the news you need to read. We'll see you again tomorrow.